Hi guys, it's Quinn here. If you enjoy my videos, consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. In this video, we will talk about the purpose of God within the context of the Dune Saga. In a sense, the Dune Saga is all about the concept of godhood. In the first book, we see the apotheosis of Paul Atreides, as he uses the path laid out for him by the Bene Gesserit Missionaria Protectiva to convince the Fremen that he is their prophesied savior. Wielding the power of the Fremen, Paul is able to avenge House Atreides and unseat the Emperor of the known universe. But in doing so, he also entangled the throne with a fanatical religion. His godhood would be invoked by others who would go on to commit terrible atrocities in his name. The problem with this is the interpretation of God's will cannot be easily monopolized. A government entangled with religion risks losing control over the very populace it seeks to subjugate, when that populace's view of God shifts out of line with the standard established. Much of Dune is a critique of the entanglement of religion and government. Take the Lady Jessica's message to Paul Atreides and his sister Elia Atreides in the book Dune Messiah. "You produce a deadly paradox," Jessica had written. "Government cannot be religious and self-assertive at the same time. Religious experience needs a spontaneity which laws inevitably suppress. And you cannot govern without laws. Your laws eventually must replace morality, replace conscience, replace even the religion by which you think to govern. Sacred ritual must spring from praise and holy yearnings which hammer out significant morality. Government, on the other hand, is a cultural organism particularly attractive to doubts, questions, and contentions. I see the day coming when ceremony must take the place of faith and symbolism replaces morality." Jessica sees the danger in this because she understands how this paradox has played out historically. As long as humans have been around, gods have existed. The idea of a god itself is not the problem. But the entanglement of God and government is something very different indeed. So what's the purpose of God, and where do gods come from? A god on a basic level is formed out of the human attempt to reconcile the inexplicable nature of the world around them with the seeming centrality formed by the very fact that they are conscious beings and naturally view the world from a self-centralizing angle. This is something that humans have to be taught not to do. Gods are born out of people interpreting natural phenomena as relevant to their own actions or thoughts when they are not. The sun is a god because it gives heat, crops grow, and it's eternal. Because of the self-centralizing angle through which those who create gods view the world, a god naturally is concerned with their lives. When it rains and the crops are watered, it is because you pleased God. When the land is dry or blighted, something must have been done to anger God. God's actions are the direct result of human behavior. In the earliest regions in human history, this was the place in which God inhabited. As the ages turned on, and few men learned to wield power and control over many men, God became a mechanism of that control. The purpose of God is to have a mechanism of control that is beyond reproach. This is exactly why the Bene Gesserit sought to create a Kwisatz Haderach. The Bene Gesserit had their own beliefs about how the future of humanity should progress. They, being the greatest scholars of history in the Dune series, had long seen religion as a tool for manipulation. The Kwisatz Haderach was intended to be used as their tool, a living god who could help to shape the universe in an image of Bene Gesserit design. The Bene Gesserit, of course, had a historical basis for the concept of a living god. The divine right of kings, for instance, is a religious and also political doctrine appearing around the 16th century. It was intended to justify the legitimacy of a monarchy. Essentially, the monarchy cannot be questioned because the king is preordained before birth by God. There are also even more direct historical examples. Take the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, for instance. Pharaohs were not just kings, they were gods as well. In fact, the word pharaoh literally translates to God King. The reason for this is clear. A leader, even a king, can be questioned, but who is anyone to question a god? I made sure to mention Egyptian pharaohs here because the most successful god king in the Dune universe was actually possessed by an Egyptian pharaoh named Hiram. Paul Atreides' son, Leto II, was born ancient. He and his sister Ghanima had access to the memories of their ancestors from birth. Harem, Leto called his ultimate ancestor. I am a community dominated by one who was ancient and surpassingly powerful. He fathered a dynasty which endured for 3,000 of our years. His name was Harem, and until his line trailed out in the congenital weakness and superstitions of a descendant, his subjects lived in a rhythmic sublimity. They moved unconsciously with the changes of the seasons. They bred individuals who tended to be short-lived, superstitious, and easily led by a god-king. Taken as a whole, they were a powerful people. Their survival as a species became habit. Leto II, who would go on to become the Worm God Emperor, succeeded in doing what the Bene Gesserit had failed at. Wielding the power of his godhood, he shaped the universe in his own design. Billions throughout the universe saw him as a true god. Those who questioned him were openly put to death. Leto's grip upon the universe was incredibly strong, not simply due to his extraordinary prescient abilities and his ability to travel through his other lives, reliving the lives of his ancestors while gaining valuable insights on the nature of humanity, but also due to the fact that he was not simply a ruler, but a god. You will not understand me. The harder you try, the more remote I will become until finally I vanish into eternal myth. A living god at last. That's it, you see. I am not a leader, nor even a guide. A god. Remember that. I am quite different from leaders and guides. Gods need take no responsibility for anything except Genesis. Gods accept everything and thus accept nothing. Gods must be identifiable yet remain anonymous. Gods do not need a spirit world. My spirits dwell within me, answerable to my slightest summons. Leto had his own specific reasons for exactly why he did the things he did, but in the general sense, the purpose of God in the Dune universe is control. And this seems to be in just about every case. Dune is a series that is highly critical of the concept of God and the concept of religion itself, especially when it is entangled with government. So I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Quinn's ideas. Let me know what you think in the comments below.